The sky over Burkina Faso isn't just air anymore. It's a battlefield waiting to ignite. Ibrahim Traoré knows it. The United States knows it. And right now, warplanes are circling the continent, mapping every crack, every vulnerability, every opening they can exploit. This isn't diplomacy. This is a hunt. And Traoré? He's not the prey they thought he was. Relations between Burkina Faso and Washington have crossed a line that few African leaders have dared to approach. Traoré isn't negotiating. He isn't compromising. He's rejecting the entire playbook, and that refusal has turned his country into a target. The West calls it security cooperation. Traoré calls it what it is: surveillance with teeth. Foreign jets patrol the skies under the banner of partnership, but their mission is tactical. They're not protecting anyone. They're searching, probing, testing, looking for the moment Burkina Faso blinks. But here's what they didn't count on: Traoré and his military are already watching. Every flight path, every radar signal, every move. Burkina Faso's defense apparatus is locked in, eyes on the horizon, fingers near the trigger. This isn't paranoia. This is survival. Because one miscalculation, one unauthorized overflight, one act of aggression disguised as an accident, and the response won't be diplomatic. It'll be immediate, unforgiving, and it could detonate a chain reaction that pulls the entire region into chaos. So what brought us here? How did a landlocked Sahel nation end up in a silent standoff with the most powerful military on Earth? It started the day Traoré decided sovereignty wasn't negotiable. He kicked out French forces. He rejected Western military bases. He aligned with Russia. He told the IMF and World Bank to take their conditions elsewhere. He didn't ask for permission. He took it. And that made him dangerous, not because of what he's done, but because of what he represents. A blueprint, a model, a message to every other African leader still bowing to external pressure. You don't have to. That message is what terrifies Washington. Not Traoré himself, but the idea of him spreading. Because if Burkina Faso succeeds in carving out true independence, if they build security and stability without Western approval, then the dominoes start falling. Mali's already following. Niger's already followed. Senegal's questioning. Chad's reconsidering. The entire Francophone bloc is watching. And the U.S. isn't just losing influence, it's losing control of the narrative. Is this the turning point for African sovereignty? Or are we watching a nation push too far, too fast? Drop your take. Because what's happening in the skies above Ouagadougou is only the beginning. The tension isn't theoretical anymore. It's tactical. Warplanes don't circle for no reason. They circle because someone's preparing options, contingencies, scenarios, and Traoré knows it. His military advisors know it. His people know it. So Burkina Faso has shifted into a posture that's part defense, part defiance. They're not backing down. They're not softening. They're standing on the edge of something that could either cement their independence or drag them into a confrontation they can't afford to lose. And here's the terrifying part. Both sides are operating on razor-thin margins. One miscommunication, one false flag, one drone that strays too close, one radar lock that lasts too long. That's all it takes. The powder keg is packed. The fuse is lit. And nobody's entirely sure who's holding the match. What no one expected was that Traoré would hold his ground this long. Most analysts gave him months before he'd fold, beg for a deal, or disappear in a coup. But he's still here, still standing, still refusing. He came for sovereignty, and he's willing to bet everything on it. The question isn't whether he's brave. The question is whether he's ready for what comes next. Because if this explodes, it won't just be Burkina Faso that burns. The entire Sahel could go up in flames. France is watching its empire crumble in real time, and there's nothing Paris can do to stop it. Ibrahim Traoré didn't just reject their influence, he buried it. And now, as foreign warplanes circle the skies hoping to rattle Burkina Faso into submission, all they've done is prove his point. The West tried to play quiet. They tried pressure. They tried intimidation. And Traoré? He turned their threats into fuel. Vigilance isn't just defense anymore, it's a statement. And every radar lock, every interceptor on standby, Every air defense unit tracking shadows across the Sahel is sending one message loud and clear. Test us if you want, but you won't like what happens next. This wasn't supposed to go this way. When Traore first seized power, the assumption in Brussels and Washington was simple. Give him time, he'll fold. Young captain, landlocked country, economic pressure, diplomatic isolation. It's a formula that's worked for decades. Except this time, it didn't. Traore didn't beg for aid. He didn't soften his stance. He doubled down, kicked out the French, realigned with Russia, built up his military. And now, while warplanes patrol nearby air corridors under the guise of regional security, Burkina Faso's air defense systems are locked on every single movement. This isn't paranoia. This is preparation. Because Traore knows something the West is still learning. Sovereignty isn't given. It's taken and defended. Behind the scenes, France is in crisis mode. For over 6 decades, Francafrique operated on a simple principle. Economic dependence equals political control. But that model is collapsing faster than anyone predicted. Mali cut ties. Niger followed. And now Burkina Faso isn't just leaving the system, it's actively dismantling it. French intelligence is scrambling. Diplomatic channels are frozen. And every attempt to pressure Traore through regional bodies like ECOWAS has backfired spectacularly. Because here's the thing, ECOWAS is trapped. Caught between Western donors demanding action and a military leader who's more popular at home than any election could deliver. They can sanction, they can condemn, but they can't move him. And everyone knows it. Is this the moment Africa finally breaks free from neocolonial control? Or is Traore gambling with fire he can't contain? Drop your take, because the next move could change everything. What's terrifying for the West isn't just that Traore is defiant. It's that his defiance is working. Burkina Faso's economy hasn't collapsed. His military hasn't fractured. His people haven't turned on him. In fact, the opposite is happening. While foreign jets map his airspace looking for weaknesses, Traore's turning surveillance into a rallying cry. Every patrol flight becomes proof of foreign aggression. Every diplomatic threat becomes evidence that he was right all along. The West thought intimidation would break him. Instead, it's making him a hero. And that's what keeps Paris awake at night. Not the loss of one country, but the precedent. Because if Burkina Faso succeeds, if they build security and stability without Western approval, then the entire Francophone bloc starts asking dangerous questions. Why do we still need France? Why are we paying in francs controlled in Paris? Why are our resources leaving while our people starve? Traore isn't just a military leader anymore. He's a blueprint, and that blueprint is spreading. Meanwhile, those warplanes keep circling. They're not there for show. They're gathering intelligence, testing response times, mapping radar coverage, identifying vulnerabilities. It's the groundwork, the preparation, the quiet phase before something louder begins. And Traore knows it. His air defense units aren't just watching, they're ready. Orders are clear. Any hostile action, even a probe, gets an immediate response. No hesitation, no warnings. Because the moment Burkina Faso blinks, the moment they show weakness, it's over. The vultures descend. The coups get funded. The instability gets manufactured. Traore has seen this movie before. He's not letting it play out again. So here we are. A standoff nobody planned, but everyone's locked into. France losing grip. ECOWAS paralyzed. Traore unmoved. And warplanes circling a country that refuses to flinch. The West wanted to quietly weaken Burkina Faso. Instead, they've made vigilance a weapon. And now the only question left is whether someone miscalculates. Because if they do, the retaliation won't be quiet. It'll be instant, unforgiving, and it could turn the Sahel into a flashpoint nobody's ready for. What no one expected was that Traore would turn pressure into power. He came for sovereignty, and he's built different. The world just found out why. One mistake in the sky above Ouagadougou, and West Africa explodes. That's not hyperbole. That's the reality Ibrahim Traoré is living right now. Foreign military aircraft are prowling the continent's airspace, masked as routine operations, scanning for cracks in Burkina Faso's armor. They're not here by accident. They're here because Traore did the unthinkable. He told the West no. And now, his refusal to bow has turned his nation into ground zero for a confrontation nobody's talking about but everyone's preparing for. The Burkinabe military isn't playing defense anymore. They're locked and loaded, treating every unidentified blip on radar as a declaration of intent. And if someone crosses that line, if one pilot gets too curious or one drone strays too close, the response won't be measured. It'll be devastating. The kind that doesn't just shift borders, it rewrites the entire power structure of West Africa. This is what sovereignty looks like when it's not negotiated, it's seized, defended, and turned into a weapon. Traore didn't ask permission to rebuild Burkina Faso's military. He didn't wait for approval to kick out foreign bases or reject Western intelligence partnerships. He moved. Fast. Decisive. And now, the armed forces operating under his command aren't the same hollow institution that existed 2 years ago. They've been reshaped, retrained, rearmed. Every soldier knows the stakes. Every radar operator understands the mission. Any aircraft that can't be identified gets flagged. Any movement that looks hostile gets tracked. And if it escalates, the orders are already written. Fire first. Explain never. The West thought pressure would crack him. They assumed isolation would weaken his grip. Instead, it's done the opposite. Traore has turned external threats into internal unity. Every foreign warplane circling the region becomes proof that he was right to distrust the system. Every diplomatic condemnation becomes validation that Burkina Faso is on the right path. And his people, they're watching. They see their president standing tall while others bow. They see their military refusing to flinch while superpowers probe for weakness. And that's power the West can't buy, sanction, or bomb away. Is this defiance or desperation? Strategy or suicide? Drop your take, because what happens next could reshape the entire continent. Behind the scenes, the calculus is brutal. Western powers need Burkina Faso to fail. Not because Traore is a threat militarily. His army couldn't challenge NATO or even a coalition of regional forces. But because his success is ideological poison. If he survives, if he builds stability without their money, their troops, their approval, then every other African leader starts asking why they're still playing by rules written in Paris and Washington. Mali's already asked. Niger's already asked. Senegal's starting to wonder. The dominoes aren't hypothetical anymore. They're falling. And the only way to stop it is to make Traore an example. Show the continent what happens when you reject the order. Except there's a problem, he's not collapsing. He's fortifying. Those aircraft circling above aren't random. They're part of a larger intelligence operation designed to map vulnerabilities, test response protocols, and prepare contingency options. It's reconnaissance with intent, the kind that precedes action. And Traore's military command knows it. So they've adapted. Air defense systems stay active around the clock. Fighter intercept protocols are drilled constantly. Communication networks are encrypted and redundant. Every commander has clear rules of engagement. If an unidentified aircraft enters sovereign airspace and refuses to comply with warnings, it gets treated as hostile. Period. No second guessing. No hesitation. This is the edge both sides are walking. One miscalculation, a radar malfunction, a translation error, a pilot's bad decision, and everything detonates. Because Traore isn't bluffing. His military isn't posturing. They've made peace with the possibility of conflict. And that's what makes this so dangerous. When one side is willing to risk everything, the deterrence model breaks down. The assumption that cooler heads will prevail stops working. Because Traore has already decided that submission is worse than confrontation. He'd rather fight and lose than bend and survive. What no one expected was that a landlocked Sahel nation would become the tripwire for a continental power shift. But here we are. Burkina Faso isn't just resisting, it's redefining what resistance looks like. And every day Traore holds this line, every day his military tracks those foreign jets without flinching, the message gets louder. Africa doesn't need permission anymore. Burkina Faso will not be enslaved again. Those aren't just words. They're a declaration of war against the entire system that's kept Africa chained for generations. And Ibrahim Traoré meant every syllable. while foreign warplanes hover near his borders, circling like vultures waiting for weakness. His message cuts through the noise with surgical precision. This isn't diplomacy. This isn't negotiation. This is a line drawn in blood and iron, and the West is finally realizing they didn't see him coming. What they expected was another compliant government, another leader they could pressure into submission with sanctions and threats. What they got was something they can't control, can't predict, and can't break. Traore has turned Burkina Faso into the most dangerous variable in African geopolitics. And the transformation happened so fast that Paris is still trying to process what hit them. The warplanes aren't subtle. They're there to intimidate, to gather intelligence, to remind Burkina Faso that the West still has reach, still has power, still has options. But Traore isn't flinching. His military operates on a posture that borders on defiance and preparation in equal measure. Day and night, eyes locked on the sky, radar systems active, air defense units rotating in shifts. Every unidentified aircraft gets tracked. Every suspicious movement gets logged. And if anyone crosses that invisible line, if aggression turns from threat to action, the response won't come slow. It'll come fast, brutal, and without hesitation. Because Traore has made a calculation that terrifies Western strategists. He's decided that resistance, even if it costs everything, is better than submission. This wasn't supposed to happen. When Traore first took power, the playbook seemed clear. Young military leader, landlocked nation, limited resources, economic vulnerability, apply pressure, isolate diplomatically, wait for the collapse. It's a formula that's worked across the continent for decades. Except this time, the formula failed. Traore didn't beg for aid packages. He didn't soften his rhetoric. He didn't walk back his expulsion of French forces. Instead, he doubled down, realigned alliances, rebuilt his military command structure, and turned external pressure into internal legitimacy. Every threat from the West became proof that he was right. Every sanction became validation. Every warplane circling his airspace became a recruitment tool. The more they pushed, the stronger he got. Is this the rise of true African sovereignty or the beginning of a catastrophic miscalculation? Drop your take, because France is watching their influence implode in real time. Behind closed doors in Paris, the mood is nothing short of panic. For over 60 years, France operated on the assumption that Francafrique was untouchable. Economic dependency guaranteed political compliance. Military partnerships ensured access. Diplomatic networks controlled the narrative. But that architecture is crumbling, and Burkina Faso is the wrecking ball. Mali broke away, Niger followed, and now Traore isn't just leaving the system. He's actively dismantling it, brick by brick, and daring anyone to stop him. French intelligence agencies are scrambling for leverage. Diplomatic missions are hitting dead ends. And every backchannel attempt to negotiate has been met with silence or outright rejection. Traore isn't interested in compromise. He's interested in sovereignty. And that's non-negotiable. Meanwhile, ECOWAS is caught in the worst position imaginable. Accused by Traore and his allies of being a puppet organization that enables external influence, they're paralyzed between two impossible choices. Side with the West and risk losing legitimacy across the region, or support Traore and face economic retaliation from their largest donors. So they do what trapped institutions always do: they stall. They issue statements. They call for dialogue. They condemn violence. But they don't act, because they can't. The moment ECOWAS picks a side, the geopolitical storm that's been building explodes. And nobody wants to be holding the match when that happens. What no one expected was how fast Traore would transform Burkina Faso from a predictable player into a wild card that's rewriting regional dynamics. His army isn't just defending borders anymore, they're defending an idea. The idea that African nations don't need permission to be sovereign. The idea that decades of exploitation can be rejected. The idea that the system everyone thought was permanent is actually fragile. And every day those foreign warplanes circle without consequence. Every day Traore's government survives without collapsing, that idea spreads.